and hit start and start. All right. Good morning, everybody. We are here with, well, I am Hannah. Good morning. I should introduce myself. And I am here with Dr. Alison Peirse and Dr. Kate Robertson. And I just want to make sure people are actually have entered this room before I assume. So let's take a look that people are here. We have a few people. Excellent. Good morning, everybody. So during this is a Zoom webinar, so you can basically ask questions as we're talking, and I'll be able to see. I think, I'm not sure if Alison and Kate will be able to see. I'm pretty sure that they will, but we will relay those questions as we go. So please, if you want to actually ask the question, typing it out, or if you want to be on video, you can raise your hand at the bottom and we can patch you through and you can ask your question. So I just thought I'd start off by saying that I have committed the sin of, wait, let me make sure the right view is on. That's gallery view. Everyone can see us, right? Okay, good. Can somebody confirm that gallery view is on? Because for some reason my computer is telling me it isn't.
Well, I can see you two and I can see me, so.
Awesome, perfect, okay. So I was just gonna say to start that I have committed the first sin. I have not eaten anything today because I've been working so hard on this, but you know, it's not like I'm hurting for padding or anything at the moment, but still, I have not eaten. And that is not a good way to start anything. And I think that's also a good way to start this conversation though, because one of the things that I found fascinating this year before we even, I just want to get this out up front. Every year of this festival, we get films that deal with the first way to dine well, which is food loathing.
Yep.
This is going to be, by the way, people joining us on game night, you might want to remember those 3 ways to dine well as a little reminder. I was shocked at how we had maybe one film this year that dealt with food loathing, whereas all other years it's been quite significant. So it's not like that issue has gone away, but I did find, I think it's maybe because where we are right now, like maybe that wasn't on top of mind, but I do think that that was fascinating. Number 2, we have a lot of, which is monstrous. How would you describe number 2, Alison?
I just call it girls eating boys. Really.
Yeah.
It's just like monstrous women who enjoy eating men, I think.
Yeah, that works. I mean, just the monstrous eating, and that's, I think, probably one of the biggest, probably most recognizable. And then the third, I have to say, is my favorite, and actually one of the ones that I was most surprised by and want to talk about too, which is dining room traumas. And so that surprisingly came up a lot. So there's a lot of food films this year. And for those watching, at the end of this festival, on the last day, we're going to bring these 2 lovely people back to discuss this topic with those filmmakers. So mark your calendar for that. But then we also have Dr. Kate Robertson, who is an expert in all things cannibalism. I guess we could maybe say a man-eater. Can you tell us a little bit about your upcoming book and how that sort of relates to our theme here?
Sure. So for about 10 years, I've been working on a book called Man Eater, and it's about cannibal women in visual culture, which is now, the book is just going to be about cannibal women on film, because there are way more examples than you think there would be. So the first chapter is actually what you were just talking about, Alison's idea of the monstrous Girls. And I sort of presented an early version of that at Final Girls earlier this year in Berlin. So yeah, that's chapter 1, and it's super fun. You know, Jennifer's Body, Ginger Snaps, The Lure, all of those hungry girls and how puberty and desire and all of these sort of new appetites emerge in strange ways. There's also a chapter on the dining table and the role of mothers in particular, but also that family, the dining table. Dining tables have turned up in scholarship for a very long time. I mean, since about the 50s, but in the 70s, there's a really big push in exploring, you know, especially in anthropology, but also sociology. This idea of what does it mean to have a dining table and bring people together? You know, for a very long time, food has been about sharing, and it's not just about nutrients, but it's about community and you're bringing people together, but also dividing people, insiders and outsiders. It's about rules and regulation, and also breaking rules and regulation. And you can think about films where people do things they're not expected to. Or something like Company of Wolves, that amazing clip you include, Alison, where things go very strangely and everything seems upside down. So it's interesting that two of the 8 chapters are on those things. But yeah, as I said, it's very interesting to see how many of these cannibal women there are on film. And then there's a much broader group of films that deal with cannibals that aren't about women, or about where women actually aren't the ones eating, but are the ones feeding. But I think that cannibalism is such an interesting way to think about gender and sexuality and appetites, and what appetites mean, and you know how women are expected to regulate themselves and each other as much as society, you know, does it for them. It's like a whole other problem when that problem is put back on people as well. So now I could obviously talk for hours on this, but that's a general rundown. Cannibal women on film since probably about the 1960s.
Since like the 1960s, I've never asked that. So it's the other side. There's so many things, directions there to go. So where are you at with, because I believe you said you've been working on this book for a long time, and that it was going to be sort of more general, but then became more focused within film. Where are you, when might, I hate to ask that question, but
you can never ask an author when the book's coming out.
I know, I regret asking it, but I want to read it. So
you're not the first one. I actually get fairly regular emails from people, or like Twitter DMs just saying, hey, just checking on the book. And I've shared some draft chapters with people as well. To be honest, publishing is really up in the air right now. And I was speaking to someone recently in Germany who works at a publisher who said that print runs have to be established now on signing a contract, which can be, 5 or so years out, to make sure they have the paper, because they are literally struggling to get paper for printing. So I'm hoping it's 2023. But
you know what? That's going to be like tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I figure it's been 10 years now. I mean, I'll just keep putting stuff out occasionally, and film presentations are actually really great to discuss ideas. Like in film festivals is perfect. So
I know this is live, and I apologize. So if my eyes are going in another direction, but my phone is making a weird noise. So just let me turn it off, because it's probably only I that can hear it, but I can hear it, and it's driving me crazy, and I don't know why. So thank you, you lovely people. Okay, it's fixed. The whole time I was like, what's happening? What's happening? So I'm seeing a hand, seeing if we have any hands raised. We do, and I am going to bring in Lizzie Walker right now. Lizzie, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, is this, are
Hi,
you
Lizzie.
intending to be audio, or are we supposed to be able to see you? I just want to make sure I have it proper.
I'm fine either way.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure you're happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome. This is Lizzie.
Hi. Hi. So I was so speaking of books, I'm gonna plug Alison's wonderful book here that I actually have hands on. Women Make Horror, Filmmaking, Feminism, and Genre. It is amazing. But my question for both of you is what initial films were the catalyst for your research with food and dining and monstrosity as well?
Oh, do you want to go first, Kate? I don't mind.
No way.
Oh, okay. I'll have to have a think. I think Us, like I write the longest piece in the 3 Ways to Dine Well that I do analysis of is Us, and originally that section was like double the length, but when I realized what I thought was going to be a 10-minute essay film was actually feature length, then I needed to cut it right down. But I love Us. It's a favorite of mine, and as I got more and more preoccupied by dining tables and issues around power and gender at dining tables in horror films, and I just realized that Us like sets up the whole film while they're sat around the dining table at the beginning, and every single kind of character arc, all of the plot developments, it literally lays all of it out. And I was like, oh, okay, there's something here.
I feel like I need to rewatch so many movies now.
Yeah, me too. That's one of the things I like about these, is that always brings up movies where it's like, oh yeah, that movie, or
right,
exactly
that.
Exactly.
Lizzie, Kate, did you want to answer, or are you?
Yeah, well, I actually came to the topic via my art history degree. So film actually wasn't the first place I started thinking about this. I kind of came, I did a bit of a big circle around, some paintings, and then, looking Greek history and mythology, and then I started realizing films had a lot to say about this topic. But yeah, film was not my first stop, actually. Like I did this actually, in hindsight, kind of hilariously non-traditional presentation at a very prestigious art history conference. A friend and I ran the panel, so obviously I could do what I wanted, and I called it Ladies Who Lunch, and I included like Melina from Mortal Kombat, and I included some clips from her man-eater fatality, and I included,
I love it,
some films, some comics, and it was sort of set up the book. Actually, that was nearly 10 years ago. I was really interested in this topic, and at that point I did start looking at films and also what it means to eat. I mean, Teeth was I think 2006 or 7, something like that. And that's, I know about the vagina dentata, but it's sort of this idea of women and power and youth, and I was pretty interested in that. But I was also very interested in like slightly oddball old films, and there's one film I love called The Women from again maybe 1970s, and it's just The Women, and then it's in German. I can send you the link. It has a couple of different names. It's also called, I think, Feminine Carnivore or something. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And I just saw it and I thought, this is completely bananas, and I'm in love. Like, I need to know more about how this film got made. There's like there's a bra burning feminist convention. It's like sort of set at a woman's only health retreat for women who have been wronged by men.
Okay, we need to watch this.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the chat for the IMDb page. But yeah, so Weird 70s Films was probably where I started.
Oh, I wonder if we could have like a watch party about or something. That would
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah, it's amazing how many themes of food and eating and all of these, there's just so many strands that you can go. Oh, Lizzie, did you, I wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off if you had a.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm just like, for some reason, the point in these three, like the trifecta, I guess, that really resonates with me, especially is trauma around the dining table.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a thing.
It's a good transition, because that is actually a question that I had, was when you were coming up with these 3 ways to dine well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you know what I'm going to ask, but like, where did you say, like, this is the third? I think the third one is the one that's the most surprising anytime it comes up.
Yeah.
Because it seems unexpected, and yet it's totally expected. So I would love to know that thought process.
Well, thank you, Hannah. Because the dining table traumas is by far the bit that I'm most interested in and enjoyed the most. So it's really nice to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It kind of came out of wanting to make an essay film that showcased the work of women who worked on horror films. And I was rereading Virginia Woolf's Women in Fiction essay for something else I was writing. And I thought, because I wanted like a hook to hang it off, right? And like her essay has been written about so much. Everybody writes about it. It's so well known. Everybody does it. And then there was just the line about like the fact that she had this really shit meal at the women's college, and her and her friend, it was such a crap meal that her and her friend like didn't even have any conversation afterwards. And it took them going back to their college room and having like some port or sherry and like actually getting settled in front of the fire and eating something else. And that's when the conversation began to flow. And it's just like literally one line, like, to live well, you need to dine well. And I was like, oh, okay, right, I can do something with that. That makes sense. And then I thought like I was trying to think of like, what's the most obvious thing? And then go beyond it. Because I'm aware that like my interest, that I go down a rabbit hole and I can get quite esoteric with the stuff that appeals to me. So I always try and set it up with something that everyone will be like, oh, I know what that is. I recognize that. I've seen some of those films. That makes sense. And so the food loathing just seemed to me like the most obvious place to start, like food loathing. And I'm not really into food loathing stuff, so we go past that one quite quick.
Which is interesting, because we haven't had as many films.
Yeah, I'm not really into like gross out stuff. That's not my, I mean, I really love Audition. I talk about Audition, but it's not really a gross out film in that way. But it's like everyone will know what food loathing is, so I'll just start with that and people will settle in thinking it's okay. And then I just thought I wanted to write about the Lure, Jennifer's Body, Ginger Snaps, but again, I thought like lots of people know about them. So I wanted to do it because there's a real pleasure for me in cutting together a film where it's just loads of like women eating men. That was quite fun. But again, I thought like, okay, this is a thing. This is already a thing. So let's do that, because if I do something about eating and horror and I don't have Jennifer's Body or Ginger Snaps, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble. But it just made me think then the thing I was actually interested in was like the dining table stuff. And I'm not even sure like how it ended up coming about, because I was casting about for ages about what the structure could be. Even when I'd found this line with like Virginia Woolf that I could hang it off, that felt quite late on. Like I'd agreed to do a first draft of this essay film for a conference in the UK, and I couldn't edit. I didn't know how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. I'd never even like ripped a film before. I had no idea what I was doing. And it was like 4 weeks before the event. And I was like, oh shit, I better get on with this. And my brother, who's an editor, was like, Al, this is going to take you quite a long time to do, you know. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. And then I was just casting around, and then I think I put together just a list of films that I really wanted to include, but I didn't know why. So it's basically like my sleight of hand women's film history is what, you know, like fun ways to do women's film history. And so I just looked at all these films and I was looking through them and trying to think, what is it about them that I can connect in some way with eating? And I realized that they all had dining tables in.
That's great.
And then I was like, yes, this is my childhood trauma of being a really fussy eater and not being allowed to leave the table until I cleared my plate. So I was like, I connect with this.
That's so interesting.
Well, yeah. Can I make a comment here too?
Yeah, and then we actually have a hand raised. So
okay, I'll be really quick.
Go
so
ahead.
Like with it, like you were saying, going back to childhood trauma at the eating table, there was always in my family anyway, there was this weird tension when we did sit down at the table, and there's like this myth of the friendly family dining table, and it's not that way.
No,
so.
Not at all.
Do people even still sit at dining table? We have I'm gonna bring in Elizabeth, who is a fantastic filmmaker. She's raising her hand right now. If she is still raising her hand. Oh no, where is she? Oh, there she is. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Oh no, you can't see my face.
No, but I can make it so that we can see your face, I think.
That's fine. I have bedhead, but
I was hoping we could see your face.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I know. I have to promote you.
Oh.
To be a panelist for a second. You ready? You're now
brace yourself.
Brace yourself. We are now, Elizabeth will be joining the webinar as a panelist. Okay, are you joined as a panelist? Did you join? Do we see you?
Oh, yes. Here we go. Hello.
I had to like put my video and my audio on.
There you are.
It, like closed and then came back up. So anyway, hi.
Hi, Elizabeth, by the way, has a film that screened last year and is going to be screening again because it's perfect for the year we've been through, and it's one of my faves, and it's called Killing Time with Lizzie Borden, and I am very grateful that you're here.
I'm grateful that you made this event. Yeah, I also haven't eaten, full disclosure. I've been drinking coffee, which is always great on an empty stomach. So, so apologies if I'm not very articulate right now. I guess first, thank you for compiling this. This is really awesome. And also thank you for putting all the titles of the film at the end.
Good.
Because now I have like a list of homework to do for my next project, whatever that might be. So yeah, and just doing the work is really awesome. I never really,
thank you.
Yeah, I never really thought of like this thread in horror, you know, and now it's like super obvious, which is cool. Not to make it about myself, but in my own work, I guess I'm more like horror comedy. And while, you know, this whole idea of food aversion is interesting because I feel like the comedy side, and you see this a lot, you know, in comedy, is gluttony and like overeating, like that. You know, like I'm thinking of like Liz Lemon from 30 Rock, like her whole thing is like eating, and the idea of like eating your feelings is a really big part of that.
Right.
Too. So I'm just curious, like, do you see examples of like overeating as sort of like a grotesque, sort of horrific act?
Great question.
I'm sure there's more than 3 ways to eat well to
die. Oh yeah.
But I'm curious, like, where, if and where you've seen that sort of thing.
It's a good question.
Kate, do you want to go in on this? I don't want to dominate. I'm being very British.
Well, I'll just say one thing that came to mind immediately when you said that was Cannibal Girls from 1973. These women, it's very strange. But these women are sort of hypnotized into becoming part of this cannibal cult. But when they sit around the table at the very end, they're all just like eating these like human ribs with their hands, and they're covered in sauce. And it's just a strange ending to a strange film. But it's definitely, you know, showing that they're all in at this point. They are really enjoying their food.
Would that be similar though to the second category of girls eating boys, of the if we're talking more gluttony of like the consuming of flesh and because I also am thinking, Elizabeth, of you made me think of like films that deal with like, God, there was this horror film that came out so random. What was it called? It was about that weird fetish. I shouldn't say weird fetish, but I don't regret what I just said because of what I'm about to say. For eating and people who like to like feed people and people who like to eat, they make people really, really, really fat to the point where they're immobile, which I
think it's just called
like
Feed, isn't it?
Yeah, the movie Feed. Yeah. So there's like this whole like underground culture of like sexualized overfeeding. But then there's also this mainstream thing, which is actually going to come up in our second part, which is called mukbang. And I don't know if that's people here are familiar with that phrase.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
It's terrible. But we have a film on Sunday screening called Fat Henry by England Simpson, and it's a mukbang horror film that she made. So she's going to be part of that conversation. But if you're not familiar, it's basically a genre of YouTube video where people sit in front of the camera and consume a disgusting amount of food to the point where people have died or permanently been damaged internally by doing this. And I don't mean like a lot of food. I mean like a room full of food and like,
oh my God,
like thousand, and they'll just be paid, kind of like last night with the movie we were talking about people, you know, getting likes for doing fucked up things. Like the more you eat, the more likes and follows you get. And I think that there's this whole other category of that, which is really grotesque, but sickeningly common right now. Yeah.
I actually had another question, which just came up as you were saying that, because you're saying like there's all these films coming out about food. Do you guys think there might, like the pandemic and this horror show that is real life may have an effect on why we're seeing more of that?
It's so interesting you said that, because when Hannah first asked me to have a meeting to discuss screening Dine Welling event, this is precisely what we were talking about, and how like prevalent like food has been as kind of a concept through the submissions that are going on. So I think it's absolutely bang on, really.
Tons of food submissions. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, we're home a lot. So.
Yeah.
But there's not the food loathing like in pre-pandemic years of submissions. Again, this is all like, there's no actual research here. It's just what I'm seeing, but I've never seen a year like this. Because the topics are so different. The films are so different than any year. And so many of them deal with food. And it makes sense when you think of it in that context, because you do that. A lot of people eat at home, or they eat in private, or it's something that if they do, it's social, and therefore we can't be social. And there's just so many elements that go into it, you know.
And we're all at home. We're not really dining out as much.
Exactly. Yeah, so we have a lot of film screening that have traumas at the table, that have just every category. So I think that when I haven't been looking at the time. I'm not sure.
It's 10:59 here my time, so it's probably 11:59.
When is this scheduled till? I would hate, it's not going to like disconnect us, is it?
I don't know.
Who knows? It might be a very abrupt ending.
Yeah. I'm having a great time.
Okay. Well, I hope I didn't make it so that it automatically like shuts off at a time I wasn't expecting. So if that happens, I apologize. But now that train of thought made me lose where I was going. But does somebody remember?
You were just saying food is being represented in your
Yes.
submissions in a whole variety of ways, and it's not just the bog standard food loathing.
Yeah, I'm shocked by that, because every year there's, especially with, I mean, I hate saying things generally, but I'm speaking generally. With women, it's, you know, it's battle with food. And I just can't get over the fact that I didn't see a single of the tons of submissions, not a single film dealt with food loathing. If anything, it was about trying to get what you need and not being able to.
Sustenance and comfort, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like going back to the film, there's that statement about food is love.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, I don't know.
We're looking for more primitive ways to self-soothe while we're all stuck at home.
And I would love to actually jump in, because that's a perfect transition, because you know how you said I don't know who said this. I think it may have been Elizabeth, about seeing the connection but not having thought about it before between the food and that happened with romance and horror this year, because I hate romance films are just not my thing. Like, it's just not my thing. But when I was putting this festival together, almost everyone I spoke with, somehow the topic came up. Whether they were saying, oh, I've been watching a lot of romance, or I'm really into like this horror romance thing. And I started realizing, oh my God, there's like this thing happening, and it's been there since day one, just like with the food. And I think the themes of food, of love, of relationships, of needing comfort are all so prevalent right now because of this, that they all just are the basic needs of human happiness and functionality. So the romance of relationships, the food, it kind of just all made sense. And when you look back at like Dracula, for example, or like vampires or cannibals, I mean, a lot of those stories, I guess Dracula, for example, there's these love elements, there's these seductions, and
vampires are very sexy generally, aren't they? So
yes,
I just started going back to watch the Dark Shadows series. So
it's amazing how our basic needs flow through these topics and are really just what horror is, because horror is about food and relationships and fear, and those are just our human fears and needs, I guess, right?
Yeah. It's like when I teach screenwriting, and when we do it, I'm always saying, like, trying to connect with something that is like universal or primal, like some element of the story that people can connect with. And it's always such basic stuff. It's like, you know, people desire love. They need to nurture or be nurtured. They need to eat. They seek shelter. They want to defend those they love from bad forces. You know, like basic universal stuff is clearly like what everybody is like channeling at the moment.
Is that what they teach in Psych 101? It's like what Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Did I get that right? Somebody please tell me I did, because I would be so impressed with myself.
Yeah,
I got that right.
I'm pretty sure in the screenwriting book that I'm thinking of, it's got the Maslow's hierarchy.
It was Maslow? It was Maslow? Oh, okay. It was the Maslow I wasn't sure about. Okay.
Check you out.
Oh, yeah. The one thing I remember. Well, I just want to see, I know that, I just want to see if anyone else, I'm going to, Elizabeth, I'm going to bump you back just to, I just because maybe I'm not, because I don't want to waste the time figuring out how to do it. So please.
I'll mute myself.
No, you're good. You're good. I think I just want to first see if anybody else who is watching has a question that they, whether through audio or typing or video. Give you a second. I'm just checking over here on the chat to see if because otherwise I think it will be wrapping up. So going once, going twice. Okay, I did not do a good job of keeping time. I apologize.
We've got a comment in the chat though, from Sonia Looper, who I'd like to point out. Sonia is one of the contributors to Women Make Horror, my book, and she wrote a brilliant essay all about fans turned filmmakers, and she's just said thank you for this. So that's nice.
Oh, I didn't see those comments before. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Thank you for pointing
Sonia.
that out. Yes, thank you, Sonia. Everyone who was, if you chatted and I didn't see that during this. So I just had a bowl of pasta with tomato sauce while listening to you. I'm very jealous.
That's nice.
I think the first thing I'm going to do after this is eat for the first time today, because I woke up not too long before this started. So everybody, thank you so much. This was wonderful. And if you have more questions for Alison, Kate, just visit Discord and we will pass them on. And also, we will be back next weekend with the filmmakers to talk about this. And we are asking everybody, if you're still there listening, bring your food. We might have everyone on camera together eating. We're gonna try to play around with that. So that will be interesting. All right, well, thank you guys so much. And thank both of you. And I think, Alison, it's almost your bedtime over there.
Oh, it's so close to bedtime now. It really is. I'm in my pajamas, which is the main thing. So I
am too. Nobody has to know. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. Thanks. I'm gonna hit end, and I think that's all that needs to happen, but okay. Mwah, everybody.